My choice of book is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The reason I've chosen this book is because I feel it has followed me since childhood. When I was young, it stirred my imagination and in a way that's never left me, in a way that no other novel has. And also a book that has followed me kind of relentlessly, like the creature following Frankenstein throughout my life, whether it's through my academic studies, through my professional work as a librarian with specialist literature collections, or as a writer myself. Frankenstein has been hugely influential on my imagination. But of course, I'm not alone. Artists, poets, novelists, playwrights, filmmakers continue to be inspired by Mary Shelley's work. It's also, I can't think of another book that actually has an adjective that has derived from the novel itself. So when we hear about Frankensteinian inventions in the 21st and 22nd century that will come, that word will still connect to Mary Shelley's original idea. People asked Mary in her own lifetime where she came up with the idea for this book and how she came about to write such a gruesome work of literature at her age, but also such a philosophical and thought-provoking work. But Mary Shelley was an extraordinary person in an extraordinary time. Her parents, William Godwin and Mary Wollstonecraft, were two of the most radical thinkers of their day. She was brought up in an environment like not your usual 18th century lady at the time. By the time she was 18, she had eloped with one of the most famous poets of the day, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and she had miscarriages and had very traumatic experiences in her own life. I think it awakens something in people who read it in a very primal way. It stirs their imagination in a way that they never forget. Well, it's certainly my experience, and it still continues to haunt my imagination, and it probably always will.
The book I would like to talk about today is The Tenant of Wildfell by Brontë. Now, Anne isn't as famous as her sisters, Emily and Charlotte, and I think that's a real shame, because this book is so different to what the others have to offer. Whereas they focus on the Gothic, on nature, on the moors, Anne is much more focused on people and humans and telling their story. The Tenant of Wildfell was very controversial for its time, due to, spoiler alerts, a woman leaving her abusive husband, which is the twist of Act 1, which was so shocking and controversial at its time that the book was initially published in a heavily edited version that cut out a lot of the really tougher scenes to read, which even these days are still very impactful. And because of this, the heavily edited version of the book has been widely available for many, many years. Charlotte Brontë herself, when she was in charge of the literary estate, ensured that it was the censored version that was still published because she found this booking so shocking. And I think it's a real shame because there is such truth in what Anne Brontë writes about that I don't know how a daughter of a church parson 200 years ago was writing about abused women, women stuck in marriages with alcoholics, gambling debts. It's absolutely incredible, and the second edition has a preface to it, which is one of my favourite pieces of writing ever, where she justifies why she writes about these awful topics. But when we have to do with vice and vicious characters, I maintain it is better to depict them as they really are than they would wish to appear. To represent a bad thing in its least offensive light is doubtless the most agreeable course for a writer of fiction to pursue. But is it the most honest, or the safest? It is better to reveal the snares and pitfalls of life to the young and thoughtless traveller, or cover them with branches and flowers. O reader, if there was less of this delicate concealment of facts, the whispering peace, peace, when there is no peace, then there would be less of sin and misery to the young of both sexes, who are left to wring their bitter knowledge from experience.
So The book I picked is The Five by Hallie Rubenhold. It details the 5 lives of the 5 canonical victims of Jack the Ripper. The reason why I love this book is because it is truly the first of its kind. Ever since 1888, there haven't really been a book dedicated about the women, not about the murderer, and that is so important. This book gives their stories back to these women that has been slandered and forgotten for far too long. I believe it's such a gorgeous book, and it's such an achievement in true crime feminist literature. It's detailed in such a digestible narrative manner. It is given 5 sections to each women, so it's very easy to follow. A detail that I find very interesting, and it's a very minor detail, but it gives kind of credence to just what this book is there's pictures in the middle, and not once is Mary Jane Kelly's crime scene photo seen, which it's so important because that photo is the one that we all know when it comes to Jack the Ripper. It was the first crime scene photo in the UK, that's a little fact. And it does nothing but reduces her to an object, a mangled body, that it does not present her as the woman, as the mother, as the person she was, and it's such a testament to this book. It's brilliant. Please give it a read.
I would like to recommend The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is a sci-fi book that really bends the genre of sci-fi. It's unlike any sci-fi book I've ever read, in the sense that it's a space opera, so it takes place across a wide distance in space, but the main focus of the writing and the characters and the way that the plot progresses forward is much more in a slice of life style, and that is something that I didn't realise I wanted from sci-fi until I read this book. You follow the character Rosemary, who's the only human aboard a ship called the Wayfarer, and they are travelling across the wide distance of space to place jump points in space. So they're travelling long journeys that no one else wants to do so that they don't have to. And they place jump points for other ships to travel between. As you go through this book, you're following Rosemary exploring her humanity in a way that she's never thought about it before. At the beginning of the book, she's a little bit jaded and tired of her life, and she just needs something very different and a fresh start. And going on this ship really helps her explore her humanity and compare her view of life with all of the other very wide range of characters that are on the ship with her. And in my opinion, the characters is what makes this book, and it's Becky Chambers' exploration of gender and culture and the different ways that different genders and cultures across this world that she's built plays with the human way of thinking and living. And while Rosemary is questioning her humanity and what it means to be alive, you kind of do that with her. And that's my favourite thing about this book. Possibly the best thing about this book is that it is available in the library and you can come and borrow it right now if you would like to.